Hi, I'm Gohar Vardanyan, and this is a Lessonette for strings by mail. In this Lessonette, I'm going to talk about the very basics of using a metronome. So this is for those of you who have never used a metronome before and might be a little bit intimidated by the ticking device. Here I have two metronomes. One is just a regular old-school metronome with a dial that you can get from strings by mail, and the other one is my phone with a metronome app. And there's a variety of apps available with different interfaces for different devices, etc. I use both. If I'm at home, I use the metronome. If I'm out, I use my phone, so I don't have to carry anything extra. What you get is up to you. I personally like to use just the very basic functions of the metronome. So as long as I have a steady beat, that's all I need. But if you're inspired by all the bells and whistles that some of the metronomes come with, by all means go ahead and get that. But keep in mind that when you first learn to use a metronome, all you really need is a basic beat without any of the fancy extras that come with it. So even if you have the possibility, I would suggest from the very beginning, turn all of it off. So some metronomes give you options to turn on beats, like 3/4, 4/4, and subdivisions. So what that does is, if I change the beat setting on a metronome, it changes the time signature supposedly that you are playing in. So let's say I put the beat to 3, which makes it into 3/4, so 3/4. When I turn that on, you'll hear that one beat is one color or tone, and the other two are different. This is to indicate that you are in 3/4 time, so that one tone that's different from the other two is the downbeat of, let's say, 3/4 time. If I had put it on 4/4 time, it would have been one different color and then 3 of the same. So that would be 4 beats with the first beat being a different tone to indicate downbeat. The reason I don't like using that from the beginning is because you're bound to make mistakes, you're bound to fall out of the metronome beat and having to restart, etc. If you have that function turned on and you have to restart, you'll have to wait for the whole cycle for the metronome to come around and give you a downbeat so you can start playing there, provided you are starting on the downbeat as well. And if you're starting in the middle of the measure, then the metronome, you have to wait until it's in exactly the same spot that you are, which is actually just a waste of time. But if you turn that off and you just set it to 1/4, or if it's just a beat setting, set it to 1, then when you play it, it'll just be one sound, one tone, no difference. So when you fall out of sync from the metronome, you can jump right back in, let a beat pass, and not have to wait for the whole cycle to start over again, saving yourself some time. The only thing I would recommend when you're looking for a metronome is make sure that it has some kind of a light indication for the beat. And I don't mean just the light indication like on this one. You probably can't tell on the camera, but this lights up every time the metronome beats. The only problem is that, even though I love using this metronome a lot, for a complete beginner who doesn't really have a sense of time yet, having that light beat only with the beat synchronized doesn't really give you any visual indication of predicting when the next beat is coming. So use something that has lights going left to right, or some kind of a pendulum, like on the app you'll see here there's a pendulum moving back and forth each time there's a beat. So you have this visual indication of when the next beat will be, and you can sort of anticipate it. Other metronomes do it by the multiple lights going left to right, or having some kind of a line going back and forth. Whatever it is, it usually just helps finding the next beat. The other option you have is subdivisions. And of course, this doesn't apply to the very basic ones. These are more advanced, the digital metronomes that have all these. The subdivisions help. They will divide the beat into whichever subdivision you set it to. So let's say if I set it to 8th notes, basically the default is their quarter notes. This is, let's say, their quarter notes. If you subdivide them into 8th notes, it changes. So it beats twice as fast, one beat being the middle of the larger one. This is a good way to sort of learn what it feels like to play 2 notes per beat. But I wouldn't use this function as your default, because then you're really not learning to subdivide by yourself and you're using the metronome as a crutch. So I would suggest turning on the metronome to just a regular beat and learn to subdivide yourself. You can do that by counting first, so you can say 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and then you can learn by playing. So first start by playing just one note per beat. Then play 2 notes per beat, so you're going to have to fit a note in between the beats. So once you learn to subdivide the beat in 2, you're already covered for a lot of the repertoire that you're going to play that is in duple meter. The next thing you have to learn is to learn to divide the beat into 3. And that might be a little bit trickier at first, and you might have to count first to kind of get the feel of those triplets. The metronome with the little subdivision settings will help you do that. So if I set to triplets, you can tell what it sounds like having that beat divided into 3. You can use that to give yourself a clue, and then you should do it by yourself. So you're dividing into 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and what number you give it in the 1 and 2 and 3 and it doesn't really matter if you're just practicing. It only matters if you're trying to count a piece in a specific time signature. Then it matters if you're saying 1, 2, 3, or 4, because those numbers indicate the beat you're playing. But if you're just practicing, it really doesn't matter. But more into that in a later lesson. Right now, just try to divide it. So if I have it set, right now it's at 62. If I have it set at 62 and I'm trying to play 3 notes to beat, I'm dividing that into 3, and I am dividing the beat into 3 equal parts. So first try to just do it on open strings. Don't worry about playing the pieces until you feel very comfortable with them, and then you can use those beats and play something that's simple. Don't choose the most rhythmically complicated piece you have. Choose something that's simple so you can actually master it, and then you can move on to more difficult pieces. So I hope this helps you use the metronome, at least its very basics, and in later lessonettes I'll go more into detail how to use the metronome to practice pieces, how to use it as a tool, and what settings to use for different time signatures. Thank you for watching.